Mm. You are my special angel. That's a song by you know the singer that made uh, uh, what's the song that Jingle Bell Rock? The lyrics say basically that you are my special angel. You were sent from heaven above. Imagine that. Who sent that special angel? Jesus is like a special angel. Ah, but angels are below Son of God. Hmm. Well, in to us, we could think of Jesus as a special angel, as in, but no, a special angel could be a guardian angel, but we could treat Jesus as our special angel, couldn't we? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. So we could imagine that, couldn't we? So it's December, what, 23rd, 2023. And what is coming up is Christmas. So what should I do? Should I get in a festive mood and decorate the house? There's no decorations unless you consider those. And my mother is another decoration. There she is. This morning I got her going and we had her outside for a little while, get some sun, and now she's worn out. It's 1:38 p.m. So, what should I do to prepare for Christmas instead of celebrating it in the usual festive way? Let's meditate on something that brings us back to Yeshua, Jesus, the Messiah. Yes, I would like to prefer to say Messiah versus Christ. But then I wonder if he believed himself to be the Messiah when he asked his followers, or certain ones of his followers, who do they say I am? And who do you think I am? And things like that. Hmm. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but it sounds like either he didn't want it to be known or to keep it secret that he's like a tantric master where you want to keep it secret for to the public, but amongst the disciples to let it be understood that he is a master, a tantric master, as in having a knowledge of something very subtle about the mind. Anyway, let's explore mm, uh, what we do. Oh, what we know about this guy is very little we know, or maybe it's better to investigate what teachings we have of this guy. Maybe that's what we should investigate. What if we learn? What if there's something to learn about this guy. So let's go to duckgo.com and let's search for Matthew the Beatitudes. So we've seen it before. I'd like to yes, the Bible Gateway is pretty good, but I'd like to explore something else. But could be Bible.com, could be Wikipedia. Let's see. King James Bible Online, Catholic.com, Bible Study Tools. Got questions? Bible Gateway, Desiring God, Christianity, Bible Gateway, Bible Gateway. Oh man, Bible Gateways. Rethink Now. ActiveChristianity.org. Poor. What about Britannica? Bible Gateway, Bible Gateway, Bible Gateway. Church of Jesus Christ. Is that like the Latter-day the Saints? Bible Hub. Bible Studies. Oh. Here, there, and everywhere. Oh, here, there, and everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. That's an interesting website. The website is called Here, There, and Everywhere. HTAE.net. Why is it called that? That's actually a pretty catchy website. HTAE group. It's almost like the word hate, but arranged to become transformed into something that's not so hateful. Here, there, and everywhere. That's something from like the Beatles, right? About, let's see, found out about us. Request your free, let's see. About checklists here, there, and everywhere. Our aim is to provide the best lists and checklists here, there, and everywhere, where everyone can benefit from each other's work in some way, where reinventing the wheel becomes a thing of the past one day, where one day we will just invent new wheels. Our primary application is Depute, an efficient checklist and task manager application which allows you to manage all your activities in one place and where required. And if you want to, delegate the authority to complete the task to another person or team of people. What? HTAE media sites, Pinterest, Tumblr, LiveJournal, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, here, there, and everywhere, Blogspot. Use the login box to log in or click the. I don't know. What is here, there, and everywhere website about? I don't know. But now how do I get back to the previous page? It's got something going on here. If I try to go back, I'll exit out of this. Let's see if I can go like this, maybe. And here, there, and everywhere. From Depute, search for things. Beatitudes. So, Matthew 5, sermon, read, listen today, sponsored. The Beatitudes, Project Rachel, Hope After Abortion, sponsored. What are the Beatitudes? Christian apologetics, sponsored. All of Christianity's claims rest squarely under the resurrection. The Beatitudes, the Church of England. The Beatitudes, Matthew 5, Wikipedia. People who are examples of the Beatitudes. Full Bible passage and meaning. The Beatitudes, verse by verse meaning. Matthew, Introduction to the Sermon on the Mount, Bible Gateway. The upsetting reality of the Beatitudes. Why I haven't liked the Beatitudes, Reverend Brent L. White. And that teaches how to hear now. Whoa, what is this? So the divine conspiracy. Rediscovering Our Hidden Life in God by Dallas Willard. And yet this article here is by the Reverend Brent L. White, but he's maybe referring to the book, The Divine Conspiracy. So Reverend Brent L. White says about 10 years ago, why I haven't liked the Beatitudes. So I have been severely yet delightfully challenged this week by Dallas Willard's book, The Divine Conspiracy, particularly the chapter on the Beatitudes, on which I'll preach this Sunday. So Willard challenged him to confront the uncomfortable fact that the Beatitudes are not enjoyable are difficult for us to the point that we don't really like them. Well, he's saying that I don't really like them. Well, for one thing, just looking at Luke's version, from the less popular Sermon on the Plain. Oh, so there's another version of Sermon on the Mount. It's found in the book of Matthew, chapter 5. There's one in Luke, in the book of Luke, called Sermon on the Plain, and it's probably very similar. So I'm not poor, I'm not hungry, and I'm not particularly sad. I hardly experienced any meaningful rejection or scorn or persecution because of my Christian faith. Moreover, I don't want to be or experience any of these things if I can help it. So yes, I imagine that most people that encounter the Sermon on the Mount or Sermon on the Plain, they read about these things and it sounds strange because they're not in that condition of being poor, of being hungry, of being particularly sad, of having hardships. So most people that read it these days are in pretty good shape. So when they see that, oh, this is not particularly interesting because I'm in good conditions, in good environment, in good. I have good causes. I am fairly happy, very fairly successful. So these beatitudes can be ignored in my case. Yes, and that's what this guy named Reverend Brent L. White, who probably preaches on Sundays, he realizes that this Sermon on the Plain is not for him. He's not like that, and he doesn't want to be like that. He doesn't want to be poor. He doesn't want to be hungry. He doesn't want to be sad, and he's worked all his life to avoid it. And maybe he's got a good job as a as a preacher or priest or whatever. He's a reverend, and he's probably got a really good, nice car and a nice house and a nice wife. So he's not inspired by the Sermon on the Plain or on the Mount. So what's going to happen? Is there something there for me, a a fairly well-off person? Let's find out. Oh, he goes on to say, I can try to take some refuge in Matthew's version, which sounds like, sure, I'm not poor, but I can still be spiritually poor in spite of my wealth. So we can kind of say, oh, I can be blessed if I'm poor in spirit. Except that I'm not even that. I'm not, I don't feel like I'm poor in spirit either. Well, I'm hungry for righteousness, maybe, or I see that there's a lack of righteousness or a lack of good conduct in society these days. So I'm hungry for righteousness, for justice. And well, please, I'm not weak. I'm not much of a peacemaker either. So and forget about purity of heart. Uh, yeah, this sermon, either one. I think the one I'm familiar with mostly right now is the Sermon on the Mount by Matthew, and these things are sound familiar, like being meek, being a peacemaker, being hungry for righteousness, being poor. So these are things that in this society we know how to avoid and we know how to overcome them if we're cautious and do the right things uh, that society asks us to do, to, like, get a job, or well, get a good education, study hard, uh, look for a job, get a job, do what your boss tells you to do and all that, and work up the ladder and get better paying positions, things like that. Or maybe continue studying and going to a career field that pays more. Or maybe, at the same time, doing some wise investments. Yes, that'll get you out of this rat race if you're successful in those investments. So, does the fact that I strike out on all these beatitudes make me a horrible Christian? Does at least feeling guilty about my failure make me slightly better? Is there still a place for me in God's kingdom? But then, why would I even ask these questions? Isn't there the loophole called justification by faith alone that we Protestants say? I'm reading from what the Reverend Brent L. White is thinking in his mind. So, in other words, he's saying, we don't have to worry about these things, these hard things to do, or difficult attitudes we that are suggested by the Beatitudes. We don't have to have the attitude of a beatitude. We have it made. We are saved. We are saved by faith alone. That kind of deal. Yes. So that's what we Protestants say, or the Protestants of the like of the Reverend Brent L. White. He'd say that we are justified. We are saved. We have the license to not have to worry about it. We have protection. We have, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're gonna protect it, you got some kind of certificate that like a I'm thinking about maybe some politicians that they feel like they've privilege or something. Not politicians. Yeah, maybe sometimes. Or or well-to-do people. Hmm. Yes, he's saying. Anyway, let me read on. Yeah, I'm back to reading this paragraph that starts in with what then? No, yeah, but what then? Why would I even ask these questions? I don't have to ask these questions because justify it. No, because justification by faith alone. That's the that's that's our I think of it as like a loophole or our way out, our get out of jail free kind of, or our protection. Justification by faith alone, we Protestants say, and I've got all the proof, texts on my side. Why does Jesus seem to be teaching works righteousness? Why is Jesus teaching about works that we need to work? Is he really saying that if you are this way or you do these things, then all these good things will happen to you, including Hold on. Okay, so hmm. Uh, let me read the paragraph that starts with seriously again, because maybe I didn't finish it without interruptions. Seriously, I had a theology professor in seminary who argued for hopeful universalism based in part on the Beatitudes. See, people can prove that they really know Jesus without really knowing him if they are or do these things. Didn't Karl with a K, Rahner, call these Beatitude obeyers anonymous Christians who will be saved in the end? Next paragraph. Nice thought, I guess. Except those, no, except who are these anonymous Christians? Since so many of us professing Christians can't live up to the Beatitudes. So I'm with Dallas Willard, the author of the book pictured here. Well, that's the cover. The book is called The Divine Conspiracy by Dallas Willard. I've never known about it. Maybe I'll look it up in Amazon and see what it's about, kind of by reading the reviews. So I'm with Dallard Willard, who says or concludes these literary and religious treasures of the human race. I guess he's referring to things to uh, um, to portions of literature such as the Beatitudes. These highest expressions of religious insight and moral inspiration, and so forth. I guess he's referring to many others all over the Bible and in other religions are nothing but pretty poison. Poison. If my traditional way of interpreting them is true. So I think that's I'm interpreting this correctly. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my first impression. Uh, if that's so, then Dallard Willard is kind of criticizing the Beatitudes and others as being pretty poison, as being pretty but poisonous. Well, maybe it's a poison that's good for us. Like for certain treatments, it might be prescribed that one take some poison for healing. If done correctly. And there's a footnote, number 1, where if I tap on it, maybe it goes down there. Oh, it just says that that he's quoting or he's referring to a passage in the book by Dallas Willard. The Divine Conspiracy is published by Harper One in New York. It was published in 1997, and he's referring there to pages 98 and 99 and pages 106. And let me go back to where it came from. It looks like I don't know why it had a footnote with the same number twice. Maybe it should be. It might be a mistype or something. It should be footnote 2. Okay, seriously, there it is. here it is. So I'm going to go to the paragraph that has the footnote. It's at the top, and I'll go to the next paragraph. So, well, I'll keep showing that paragraph, but I'll go to the second paragraph. The paragraph with that says my defense starts with my defense mechanism. So my defense mechanism against these verses is to say that Jesus is describing an ideal state. We're not this way, but we ought to be. We'll still be saved, of course. Thank you, St. Paul, for making that clear. But only as through fire, as Paul would say. Some other Protestants or dispensationalists assign these words of Jesus to another dispensation, specifically the millennial reign of Christ. In other words, like much of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' tough words don't really apply to us here and now. But the Reverend Brent White is thinking, referring to what what he was saying in the previous paragraph. He was saying that these words of Jesus don't apply to me. But he says, seems like wishful thinking to me. And besides, I'm not a dispensationalist. Hmm. What is a dispensationalist? Maybe that's a theological term that I'll have to look it up, but I'll look it up later for better understanding. So, what do we do with the Beatitudes? Mostly, if we are evangelicals, we ignore them. If we're not evangelicals, we join the revolution. Devote ourselves to social justice and probably read a lot of liberation theology. I read a lot of liberation theology. No, that's past tense. I read a lot of liberation theology in seminary. It was Candler's default theological stance. There is value in some expressions of liberation theology, but even if all the world were as socially just as, say, Sweden, the world would still read Jesus. Sweden still needs Jesus. No, maybe we're reading the Beatitudes wrong. That's what Willard thinks. And I think he's onto something, although some of the following words knock the breath out of me because they're so contrary to what I've thought. So these are the words of uh, of Willard. Willard, the author of The Divine Conspiracy, Dallas Willard. So he's going to read the words of Dallas Willard in reference to the Beatitudes. So the Beatitudes in particular are not teachings on how to be blessed. They are not instructions to do anything. They do not indicate conditions that are especially pleasing to God or good for human beings. No one is actually being told that they are better off for being poor, for mourning, for being persecuted, and so on. or the conditions listed are recommended ways to well-being before God or man, nor are the Beatitudes indications of who will be on top after the revolution. They are explanations and illustrations drawn from the immediate setting of the present availability of the kingdom through personal relationship to Jesus. They single out cases that provide proof that in Him the rule of God from the heavens truly is available in life circumstances that are beyond all human hope. Let me read that again. So the without so much drama, I'll read it again without so much drama. The Beatitudes in particular are not teachings on how to be blessed. They are not instructions to do anything. They do not indicate conditions that are especially pleasing to God or good for human beings. No one is actually being told that they are better off for being poor, for mourning, for being persecuted, and so on, or that the conditions listed are recommended ways to well being before God or man, nor are the Beatitudes indications of who will be on top after the revolution. There are explanations and illustrations drawn from the immediate setting of the present availability of kingdom through personal relationship to Jesus. They single out cases that provide proof that in Him the rules of God from the heavens truly is available in life circumstances that are beyond human hope. Okay, so that's uh, that's a lot to digest, a lot to meditate on, a lot to discuss. Uh, uh, I copied it. In other words, Willard says Jesus was drawing on types of people that were following him in the crowds, most of whom, by worldly standards, were of little or no account, and saying, the blessings of God's kingdoms are available even to these, just as they are available to everyone else. And to signify the truth of his words about the availability of God's kingdom, he was healing and forgiving many of them. So if Willard is right, we could paraphrase the Beatitudes to say, for example, blessed are you who are poor, for the kingdom of God belongs even to you. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for even you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for even you will laugh. I know from my previous study that there's something to this idea. The peasants of Jesus' day would have doubted that wealthy, powerful elites already possessed or were entitled to God's kingdom. For example, remember the rich young ruler? Jesus' words about how hard it is for the rich man to be saved astonished his disciples because if even a rich man can't enter God's kingdom, then who possibly can? What hope is there for the rest of us? And Jesus answers in so many words, quite a lot actually. With God, all things are possible, including the salvation of both rich and poor. Because as we Protestants know all along, salvation isn't based on anything other than justification by faith alone. The Beatitudes, therefore, are mostly an expression of the magnanimity of God's grace, something quite different from any kind of works righteousness. This doesn't settle every question in mind, but it's a good start. What do the rest of you think? Okay. So there's 7 comments. That so so a few days later. So this was written August 8th, 2013, right? And then August 12th, only 4 days later, uh, Brent White. Uh, maybe he's replying to, isn't that the Reverend himself replying to himself? Brent White. And maybe it's another Brent White. Anyway, he says, I doubt I disagree with much of what you say, Tom, except I'm not talking about the sermon as a whole. The even you part applies to the Beatitudes. In this post, I was trying to fairly represent someone else's argument, Dallas Willard's. I think he's onto something, but I don't agree with him completely. But he certainly made me think. So this is the author of this article or post or hmm, what do you call it? Sermon? This meditation. So Brent White, the author, is replying a few days later to a guy named Tom. So is Tom in here somewhere? It would have to have a date. Oh, there's Brent White replying again. Maybe he deleted the post by Tom. Hmm. I don't see the post by Tom. So I'm not talking about the sermon. Copy. Hmm. Well, actually, with God, all things are possible. With God. With God, all things are possible, including the salvation of both the rich and poor, because salvation isn't based on anything other than justification by faith alone. The advantages, therefore, let's see. Tell us where the divine conspiracy. So I'm going to go over to Facebook and type in the Reverend Brent. Oh, wait. The Reverend Brent L. White. Hmm. 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 Is about to give a sermon on the sermon on the Mount. Hmm. Matthew chapter 5 or and sermon on the plain. Plain. Luke's version of the Beatitudes, which oh, here's the word I want. Which trumps which trumps which? Faith or work by obeying the inspired by Dallas White book. Let's see, what's the name of it? Going back to see if I can. The Divine Conspiracy. The the Divine Conspiracy. Which trumps which? Faith or works by obeying the Beatitudes? The Reverend Brent was in August inspired by was the second saying in a in an art that he was inspired to think about the Beatitudes through the writings of in the and was moved to give a sermon on this. So I'm going to take. Oh, Willard says. Oh no, it's not. Dallas White is Dallas Willard. Brent. So Willard. Willard. And Reverend White. Reverend White. I'm going to put that. Reverend White was moved to give a sermon on how it went. But I can get a clue from what as to how the sermon went. Sermon went. The sermon went from what White quoted from Willard. Willard's in reference, in regards to the Beatitudes. Willard writes, so, oh, let's see. No, I think I have to post this. Willard writes, in particular, the Beatitudes in particular are not teachings on how to be blessed. They are not instructions to do anything. They do not indicate conditions that are especially pleasing to God or good for human beings. No one is actually being told that they are better off for being poor, for mourning, for persecution. or that the conditions listed are recommended ways to well-being before God were met, nor are the Beatitudes indications of who will be on top after the revolution. They are explanations and illustrations drawn from the immediate setting of the present availability of the kingdom through personal relationship to Jesus. They single out cases that provide proof that in him the rule of God from the heavens truly is available in life circumstances that are beyond all human hope. Okay, so I'm not, let's see, end of quote, end of. um, so that's by, what is it? End of, so, so that's Willard. What's his first name? Uh, Dallas Willard. Dallas Willard. I'm talking about the sermon as a whole. I think he's onto something, but I don't agree with him. So the river, right? What? Reverend White clarifies. I'm not talking about the sermon as a whole. The even you part applies to the Beatitudes. And in this post, I was trying to fairly represent someone else's argument. Dallas Willard. I think he's onto something, but I don't agree with him completely. But he certainly, you think. Hmm. Oh, maybe I should put this quote here. Hmm. The Beatitudes, therefore, are mostly expression of the magnanimity, something quite different from any kind of works righteousness. It says, says Reverend. Hmm. Therefore, Reverend White summarizes what Willard is re, points, points to what Willard is the are mostly an expression of the Reverend White clarified. I'm not talking about the sermon as a whole. Let's see. I don't know if this will work. Jesus, Willard says, Jesus was drawing on types of people that were following him in crowds. Most of them were early stands were, and to signify the truth of his words. He was healing. Let's see. Did I say Willard says? Let's see. Going back to the post on Reverend Brent White that he wrote August 13 to no August 8, 2013. See. Let's see. I'm making sure that I'm copying and pasting things correctly. In other words, Jesus. You know, the Beatitudes. And Jesus answers. In other words, Jesus says, Jesus was. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let me make sure. This should say, in other words. In other words. Willard says. Hmm. To the attitudes. No one is actually being told that they are better off for being poor. You should say, use the word summarizes. No, concludes. Concludes. What? Depend, mostly in extreme. Hmm. In other words, says White about what Willard says. So now I'm going to finish off this. Let's see. I wonder if this would be a good post. Oh man, I don't want to post this in Buddhism for Happiness. Cut. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go switch over to my other. Let's see. For return. What did Jesus mean? Faith or works by the obeying the Beatitudes. Oh, so more familiar with a portion of the Beatitudes found in Matthew chapter 5. How do how do hmm, hmm, practicing preachers think of I'm correcting the post that I finally put on Facebook, but I found a mistake, a little mistake. I missed the word. And so I'm going, uh, see if I can find it. Why not? I wonder how it went, but I can get a clue as to how the sermon went. I forgot the word went. From what White quoted from Willard's book. Okay. So there, I hope on the message. Ongoing meditations on the message. Happy are the, for theirs is, maybe I should, for theirs is, for theirs is, there we go. Ongoing meditations on the message. Happy are the blah, blah, blah. For theirs is blah, blah, blah. Happy are those who blah, blah, blah. For theirs is, what did Jesus mean? Faith or works by obeying the Beatitudes? Which trumps which? Who actually successfully obeys the Beatitudes? So I'm more familiar with the portion of the Beatitudes found in Matthew chapter 5. What do they mean? How to apply them to one's life? How do practicing preachers think about these things? And how would they handle a Sermon on the Mount and or the plain? The Reverend Brentwood was saying in a article on his website back in August 13 that he was inspired to think about the Beatitudes through the writings of Dallas Willard in the book The Divine Conspiracy. Reverend White was moved to give a sermon on the Sermon on the Mount and Sermon on the Plain. I wonder how it went, but I can get a clue as to how the sermon went. Oh, shoot. I misspelled went. The sermon went. But where is it? How its servant went. I can keep finding mistakes if I keep looking. But I can get a clue as how the sermon went from what White quoted from Willard's book in regards to the Beatitudes. Willard writes, the Beatitudes in particular are not teachings on how to be blessed. They are not instructions to do anything. They do not indicate conditions that are especially pleasing to God or good for human beings, writes Willard in his book. Furthermore, he writes in regards to the Beatitudes, no one is actually being told that they are better off for being poor, for mourning, for being persecuted, and so on, or that the conditions listed are recommended ways to well-being before God or man. Nor are the Beatitudes indications of who will be on top after the revolution. They are explanations and illustrations drawn from the immediate setting of the present availability of the kingdom through personal relationships to Jesus. They single out cases that provide proof that in him, the rule of God from the heavens truly is available in life circumstances that are beyond all human hope. Reverend Brent White concludes from what Willard has written. The Beatitudes, therefore, are mostly an expression of the magnanimity of God's grace, something quite different from any kind of works righteousness, says Reverend White. Reverend White clarifies, I'm not talking about the sermon as a whole. The even you part applies to the Beatitudes. And in this post, I was trying to fairly represent someone else's argument, Dallas Willard's. I think he's onto something, but I don't agree with him completely, but he certainly made me think. In other words, says White about what Willard says, Jesus was drawing on types of people that were following him in the crowds, most of whom, by worldly standards, were of little or no account, and saying, the blessings of God's kingdom are available even to these, just as they are available to everyone else. And to signify the truth of his words about the availability of God's kingdom, he was healing and forgiving many of them. Are hidden. So what do you think? Uh, oh man, I thought that was pretty good. Mm, mm. Traditional arts and handicraft. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Oh, I'm still running Zoom. I haven't. I should shut down. I've 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 recorded a lot already. So yeah. Sorry, I was fixing my post, and I'm kind of proud of it. But the way things are going, people are busy. They don't have time to meditate on these things, so I think I'm not gonna get any attention to it. I'd be really surprised if I do. But that's the way things go. So there's the article. I I kind of cobbled together some things that I liked in this article, like this one here, from here to there. The one that's got a line next to it. That's what Dallas Willard writes in his book. And some other paragraphs in here I cobbled together and put it into a post on my page in Facebook. I got several thousand people. Actually, many of them are into Buddhism, and only a few are actual Christians. So maybe I should be gathering more Christians friends and to see if they'll pay attention to it. So, oh, you know what? I could post it and make it public, and that will attract Christians. So, just to get them to think about it and maybe discuss and maybe learn something from each other. Okay, thanks. So, uh, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm here with my mother sleeping away. She's 101 years old. So she needs a lot of sleep in the daytime. So she's been awake. She was awake in the morning, like maybe I'd say 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours. That's pretty good. So she's she deserves to take a 2 or 3 hour nap. Maybe I should wake her up and get her moving. So I'll do that now. So everyone that managed to get to pay attention all the way through, that are still listening. Thank you. Hope you got something out of it. And I dedicate all this, any merit that this has, uh, that any benefit that that you find, that you'd say, oh, this is wonderful. I I hope maybe you could pass it along or pay it forward to all sentient beings or something like that. I give it away. Give it away.